All right, let's talk about that big idea. You know, the one you're convinced could be a game changer? Well, today we're digging into a really counterintuitive strategy that the most successful startups use. It's what separates them from the ones that, don't make it. But before we get into the secret sauce, we gotta face a pretty harsh reality. 90%. That's the percentage of all startups that fail. Think about that. 9 out of 10. It's a huge, kind of scary number that every founder is up against. So that's the big question, isn't it? If basically everyone is failing, what are the winners, that tiny 1%, doing that's so different? Is it just luck, raw genius, or is there a playbook we can actually follow? And yeah, you guessed it, that's exactly what we're going to unpack. Okay, so to really get this method, we first need to talk about the prize everyone's chasing. It's about getting into this super exclusive club. Yeah, they call it the Unicorn Club. A unicorn is just a private startup that's valued at over $1 billion. And what's wild is, even though it sounds totally mythical, right? As of 2024, there are actually around 1,200 of them out there. So it's super rare for sure, but it's not impossible. So why does so many of them fall flat? This chart tells the story. I mean, look, running out of cash, not having the right people, those are obviously huge. But check out the biggest reason by far: no market need. 35% fail because they built something nobody actually wanted. And here's the kicker. That's the one thing you can completely avoid before you ever spend a dime on development. And that brings us right to the main event, the core idea here. It's a strategy that completely flips the usual way of doing things on its head. It's called the build backwards principle. So instead of the normal build it and they will come approach, you do the opposite. You start with the absolute end in mind. Like, what is that huge, amazing outcome for your customer? What's your dream brand position? You nail that down first, and then you work backwards to figure out the tiniest, simplest first step to get there. Let's put these two side by side, because this is where it really clicks. The old way: build a product, then scramble to find people who want it. The build backwards way? Nope. You define your vision, you prove that a market for it actually exists, and only then do build the smallest possible thing to get going. See what you're doing? You're tackling that number one reason for failure right from the very start. Okay, so how does this actually work in practice? Let's break down the steps for going from this big, grand vision to something you can actually hold. It really boils down to this 4-step roadmap. First, define that big vision. We've covered that. Then comes the really critical part, validating the idea. And after that, designing what everyone calls the MVP. And let's be super clear about what an MVP, a minimum viable product, really is. It's not just a buggy, stripped-down version of your final app. Its main job isn't to make money. Its job is to help you learn, fast. It's the absolute bare minimum you can create to find out, hey, am I on the right track here? Will people actually use this? And you know what? You can start this validation process before you even build an MVP. Seriously, just go talk to people who might be your customers. Look at what your competitors are doing. You could even just throw up a simple landing page, explain your idea, and see if anyone signs up for a waitlist. I mean, Dropbox famously got started with just a video. All these things are super cheap ways to answer that one crucial question. Does anyone actually care about this? All right, but a brilliant idea and a proven market, that's not the whole story. You still need the engine to make the car go, right? And that's all about people and money. And let's just bust a huge myth right now. The engine is not just about cash. Check out this stat. It's pretty mind-blowing. About 75% of startups that get big venture capital money, they still fail. So funding is just the fuel in the tank. It's not the one driving the car. So what's a much better indicator of success? It's your team. This is so interesting. The data shows that teams with co-founders are about 3 times more likely to succeed than a solo founder going it alone. It's a huge advantage to have partners who bring different skills to the table but share that same core vision. And it's not just who's on the team, it's how you all work together. You need a culture that can move fast, one that's okay with things not working out. You have to see failure as just a part of learning. And through all the ups and downs, the one thing you can never lose sight of is a total, relentless focus on your customer. Okay, that's a lot of theory, so let's get really practical. How could you actually start doing this, like, tomorrow? Here's a simple 90-day plan that brings it all together. And look at the order here. It's so important. The first 30 days, that's all about thinking, researching, and refining your idea. No coding. Month 2 is when you design and start testing that first tiny MVP. And it's only in month 3 that you start making changes based on what you've learned and actually figure out how the business will work. So you see, building backwards isn't just a different set of steps. It's a whole different mindset. It's all about trading your assumptions for real-world evidence. It's about building something you know people want, not just something you think they want. And that's how you give your big idea the best possible shot. So, I guess that just leaves one question. What big idea are you going to start building backwards?